Hi there. My name is Dave Bryant. This is my beautiful wife, Cheryl. We're the senior pastors at the Church of Glad Tidings in Yuba City, California, and oversee the Embassy of Heaven here. And we've been here since 1987, believe it or not. And the motto of the church here, the ministry motto, is find a need and meet it, find a hurt and heal it. And so since 1987, we've been looking for urgent needs in the community and the world. And then we pray and ask God to give us a Christ-honoring solution for that urgent need. And that has taken us into everything from homeless ministry to juvenile hall, reaching out into the prisons, doing drug rehabs, helping children be reunited with their parents, and many endeavors overseas in foreign missions. And we think the most important thing that any Christian can do is learn to love well. The entire commandment of God was summarized by Jesus in 4 words. Love God, love others. He said if you would love God and love others, you would fulfill the whole law of God. And so that's what we try to focus on, is loving people well.
Loving people well. That's what I think is fun.
That's what it's all about here at the Church of Glad Tidings. Hi there. My name is Dave Bryant. This is my beautiful wife, Cheryl. We're the senior pastors at the Church of Glad Tidings in Yuba City, California, and oversee the Embassy of Heaven here. And we've been here since 1987, believe it or not. And the motto of the church here, the ministry motto, is find a need and meet it, find a hurt and heal it. And so since 1987, we've been looking for urgent needs in the community and the world. And then we pray and ask God to give us a Christ-honoring solution for that urgent need. And that has taken us into everything from homeless ministry to juvenile hall, reaching out into the prisons, doing drug rehabs, helping children be reunited with their parents, and many endeavors overseas in foreign missions. And we think the most important thing that any Christian can do is learn to love well. The entire commandment of God was summarized by Jesus in 4 words. Love God, love others. He said if you would love God and love others, you would fulfill the whole law of God. And so that's what we try to focus on, is loving people well.
Loving people well. That's what I think is fun.
That's what it's all about here at the Church of Glad Tidings. Hi there. My name is Dave Bryant. This is my beautiful wife, Cheryl. We're the senior pastors at the Church of Glad Tidings in Yuba City, California, and oversee the Embassy of Heaven here. And we've been here since 1987, believe it or not. And the motto of the church here, the ministry motto, is find a need and meet it, find a hurt and heal it. And so since 1987, we've been looking for urgent needs in the community and the world. And then we pray and ask God to give us a Christ-honoring solution for that urgent need. And that has taken us into everything from homeless ministry to juvenile hall, reaching out into the prisons, doing drug rehabs, helping children be reunited with their parents, and many endeavors overseas in foreign missions. And we think the most important thing that any Christian can do is learn to love well. The entire commandment of God was summarized by Jesus in 4 words. Love God, love others. He said if you would love God and love others, you would fulfill the whole law of God. And so that's what we try to focus on, is loving people well.
Loving people well. That's what I think is fun.
That's what it's all about here at the Church of Glad Tidings. Hi there. My name is Dave Bryant. This is my beautiful wife, Cheryl. We're the senior pastors at the Church of Glad Tidings in Yuba City, California, and oversee the Embassy of Heaven here. And we've been here since 1987, believe it or not. And the motto of the church here, the ministry motto, is find a need and meet it, find a hurt and heal it. And so since 1987, we've been looking for urgent needs in the community and the world. And then we pray and ask God to give us a Christ-honoring solution for that urgent need. And that has taken us into everything from homeless ministry to juvenile hall, reaching out into the prisons, doing drug rehabs, helping children be reunited with their parents, and many endeavors overseas in foreign missions. And we think the most important thing that any Christian can do is learn to love well. The entire commandment of God was summarized by Jesus in 4 words. Love God, love others. He said if you would love God and love others, you would fulfill the whole law of God. And so that's what we try to focus on, is loving people well.
Loving people well. That's what I think is fun.
That's what it's all about here at the Church of Glad Tidings. Movement. The ministry motto of the Church of Glad Tidings is to find a need and meet it, find a hurt and heal it. Whether it's the drug rehab programs that we've started, we have ministries in the juvenile hall, county jails, deliverance from satanic ritual abuse. And so we have become somewhat experts at loving broken people. The Church of Glad
life, just good feeling, it soon will be gone. But I found myself more lost than ever, enslaved and bound to my desire. And that's not freedom. Holy Spirit, make me more like Jesus, every day a little more like Jesus. Crucify my flesh with yours, that my new life might be secure. Everything I do, done so I can honor you.
I mean, I always
Resurrect me, sanctify, make me into your image. Oh, make me more like Jesus, more of you and less of me. I feel the change coming. I feel the change coming. More of you and less of me. Transformation by your Spirit in me. Now that I know you, I know there's no one else for me. 'Cause you're the one that my soul loves. Oh, now I find myself more alive than ever, my life laid down for your desire. Now this is freedom. Holy Spirit, make me more like Jesus, every day a little more like Jesus. Crucify my flesh with yours, that my new life might be secure. Everything I do, done so I can honor you. Resurrect me, sanctify, make me into your image. Thank you, Jesus, for your transformation power. Praise be to God, praise be to God. You've saved me from myself. Praise be to God, praise be to God. A new life I've been done. I'll never look back, no, I can't go back. I'm yours. No, I'll never look back, no, I can't go back. I'm yours. Oh, praise be to God, praise be to God, praise be to God. You saved me from myself. Praise be to God, praise be to God. A new life I've been down. I'll never look back, no, I can't go back. I'm yours. Oh, I'm never going back. Never look back, no, I can't go back. I'm yours. Oh, praise be to God, praise be to God. You saved me from myself. Oh, praise be to God, praise be to God. A new life I'm in there. No, I'll never look back, no, I can't go back. I'm yours. Oh, I'm never going back. Never look back, no, I can't go back. I'm yours. Holy Spirit, make me more like Jesus. Every day a little more like Jesus. Crucify my flesh with yours, and my new life might be secure. Everything I do, done so I can honor you. Resurrect me, sanctify, make me more like you. Holy Spirit, make me more like Jesus. Every day a little more like Jesus. Crucify my flesh with yours, and my new life might be secure. Everything I do, done so I can honor you. Resurrect me, sanctify, make me into your image. Yes, Lord, your image. More of you and less of me. My preferences don't matter. Where I thought I'd be doesn't matter. It's all about Jesus. praise be to God, praise be to God. You've saved me from myself. Praise be to God, praise be to God. A new life I've been down. I'll never look back, no, I can't go back, I'm yours. No, I'll never look back, no, I can't go back. Come on, praise him like he saved you. say thank you, God, for sending your Son. He broke my chains. Jesus, I am a. Come on, shout this out with me. We say thank you, God, for sending your Son. He tore the veil. Now by His blood we've overcome.
How's everybody doing tonight? How's everybody doing tonight? All right. Have you enjoyed the conference so far? Good. All righty. Well, everybody got plenty to eat? Yeah, so I'm still eating. All right. That's good. Well, we're going to get started tonight. First of all, I wanted to thank everybody that has been so generous. Really appreciate that. I think in the last few hours, we've got about $300,000 that's come in. So praise God for that. Thank you for that. While everybody's settling in, I want to make a few announcements. First of all, this usually Saturday night is our main service here at the Church Glad Tidings. So we have a big Saturday night service, then we have a Sunday morning service. So I'm going to make just a few announcements. First of all, I want you to remember that Embassy Greens is open back there. You can get all kinds of good stuff back there, and I hope you do. And also wanted you to know that a lot of people have high blood pressure. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but the medications they give for blood pressure, if you read the fine print, it gives you chronic diarrhea, an urge to kill everybody around you. You grow cloven hooves and horns, and there's a lot of bad side effects, all right? Or you can do it God's way and take a capsule of freeze-dried wheat, grass, and celery sprouts. It'll bring your blood pressure down in a heartbeat and keep it there. So that's available back there. I already mentioned that we're making available the pills for Laetrile, which is the natural God-given way to fight off cancer. All those things are available back there, but I wanted you to know that you can sign up to get them delivered to you online, and so I wanted you to know about that. All right, I think we have a little video about Embassy Greens, maybe. Let's see if we do.
The Embassy Greens team is focused on growing and distributing healthy foods. We leave out the chemicals, genetic manipulation, and other unnatural methods, and add in the love of Christ. Freeze-drying our produce locks in the nutrients while exponentially extending the shelf life. Order directly from our website to have wholesome and delicious fruits, vegetables, and supplements sent directly to you.
All right, there you go, good. So those are available. I also wanted to thank everybody for the volunteers around here. And you probably have noticed we have a whole army of volunteers that have been helping, and we want to say thank you for everybody, the embassy builders, everybody that's on staff, the Rev 17 team. We have a lot of people that have been helping it out, so thank you for all that. Also, we are going to take an offering. I'll tell you why. We don't get any government subsidies. I just want you to know that. And we do a lot of stuff. Our ministry motto is find a need and meet it, find a hurt and heal it. And so how many know that if you have a keen eye for the obvious, it's pretty easy to find needs? Yeah. You know, if you question that, just stand up and look around the building. And no, only kidding. But you don't have to go very far to find people that the wheels are coming off the wagon. They need help. There's people that are in all kinds of addictions. There are people that don't have loving families. There are all kinds of needs, and we really work hard to meet them all. It takes a lot of money. So right now, the QR code that is on the back of the seat, if you touch your phone to that or tap it with a card or whatever, that will take you to churchgladtidings.com to help us out. And if you want to, if you feel good about it, these kind of conferences, when we put them on, it cost us thousands and thousands of dollars. We try to make it almost free for you. So anyway, if you want to help us out, do that right now while I'm making a few announcements, and we really appreciate that. Again, you can just scan the code because it's been going to Piece of Heaven, but right now for this meeting, it's going to Church Glad Tidings. That's something that the guys program in the Eagle's Nest, okay? Also, you can scan a code that's coming up on the screen for future events, and we keep a pretty busy schedule around here. So if you want to scan that and find out what's going on, what's next, go ahead and do that. All right? How many have enjoyed the speakers that we've had so far? Okay, I was trying to get the details on this announcement. But anyway, how many enjoyed Michelle when she shared what she shared? We love you. All right, so she's going to talk about this cool hairdo button that you can get.
So I had a friend who, she puts these together and she sends them to me, and she said to sell them as a fundraiser to fund what I'm doing. So they're $10 if you'd like to get one. Anyway, so that's it. That's the announcement.
Okay, there you go. For $10, you can get one like this. Where do we get them? Will you carry them around in your pocket, or do you have a table set? Okay. All right. There you go. For now, you know. All right. So that's that. Well, we have another special here this morning or tonight, and that's Lady O'Grady. That's it's a privilege to have her here, and she was kind enough to get us a spot on Steve Bannon's War Room. That was huge. I don't know. You probably know how many people that went out to, but she was out in the pool, and she told Uncle Steve, "Hey, think about giving us a little shout out." And he said, "How many minutes?"
He said, "Come on now." And when Steve says go, you go. So I ran in as fast as I could, threw myself together, and tried to remember as many details as I could.
You did good.
So I'm so glad that
All right.
make that happen.
All right, Nicole O'Grady, welcome her. She's going to sing us a song. You're going to really like it. Okay.
In America, we don't worship government, we worship God.
Hey, okay. So while they're figuring that out, our ushers are going to pass baskets if you want to help out with an offering, all right? So then we're going to try this again from the top and see if we can get a little further through it, all right? And so, without further ado, we introduce to you. She's gone. Hang on a second. What's going on?
We're looking at it right now. I'm not sure.
Hello, hello.
I took it and I stuck it on the charger for a second.
Okay, hey, we got a quiet house waiting for me to introduce you. You ready? All right, here we go. And so, without further ado, the beautiful, the wonderful, the splendiferous Lady O'Grady.
In America, we don't worship government, we worship God.
There's some answers to these problems if you want to solve them. Through Jesus, love, and truth. We're in a modern day holy war. Holy, holy, what are we waiting for? Evil so vaguely running rampant in our
Thank you. It's a lot of words.
Thank you. All right, thank you. That's an awesome song. You wrote that yourself, didn't you? All right, we are in a modern day holy war. How many have ran into some of that out there? Yeah, and it takes all of us. And I got news for you. You can't avoid it. You can only be plundered by it or overcome it. Those are your two choices. Because it's happening. It's happening all around you. It's happening all around me, whether we're ready for it or not. And so my advice is you get ready for it and join us in the fight. Okay. Thank you for that, Lady O'Grady. I want to thank again all of the wonderful speakers that we've had. Let's hear it for all of our speakers. They've done a great job. And our next speaker certainly needs no introduction, but she's going to get one anyway. We're going to play a little video clip and then welcome to the stage Lara Logan. But let's look at this video clip.
There is nothing left. Any direction you walk, all you find is more destruction.
Thousands of angry Somalis and heavily armed gunmen were locked in an intense battle with the Americans.
We were caught in an ambush with his troops along the frontier. So it was a policy of total annihilation.
Do you think they will attack you before you attack them?
How many shipwrecks do you think are down there?
You've been described as the greatest American rock band. Is that how you feel?
Are you among the last people on Earth to speak this language?
And if you look at the U.S., what are you most worried about here?
This is traditional Yakuza turf. They run everything here, from the girls to the sex to the drugs.
Do you care if the species goes extinct? Does that mean anything to you? Why do you want to kill them?
Derek and Beverly took us deep into the Delta to see the lions.
What is it like to be charged by a lion?
Is that what a mother chimp would do?
No.
Only Mama Jane.
Coney rules by fear and claims he has mystical powers, a formidable combination in the minds of the children he kidnaps.
You were part of an army that taught children to kill, where young girls were raped.
All these people were doing atrocities. Do it under constant instruction.
Including you?
Yes.
The most obvious thing when you look at these walls is that it's all men. Up there is the past directors.
And you went from 0 to prime minister from
In about 8 years. So were you high? Were you using it?
Oh, yeah, I was.
And that's why you fell?
I was.
But the bed would be right there in the middle.
Yeah. And you'd all sleep in one bed?
We'd all sleep in one bed.
Happy memories?
The best.
What happened to a lot of the other kids that were on the streets with you?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of my friends are either dead or in jail.
What kind of soldier are you?
I'm average. I'm mediocre.
This is the single greatest honor that the military can bestow on its own. And it comes right from the President of the United States himself. That's pretty good for a mediocre soldier.
Think how good the great soldiers are.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you so much, everybody. Wow, you guys deserve a medal. You've been through the whole day. I was like, somebody really doesn't like you, making you hang around this long just to sit through one more speech at the end of the night. So, thank you, Dave. I think I was prayed over more for this speech than any other speech I've ever done. Or, so if I mess this up, it's God's fault, not mine. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay, wow. So this has been amazing. Pastor Dave, and where's your beautiful wife? Where are you? Okay, you guys, you've done an incredible job here. It has been fascinating to hear everybody. You've been amazing sitting through all of this, taking on all of this information. I know it's a lot, but obviously you're here because you're committed. And so I just want you to walk on a little journey with me. This is the last part for this evening. And what I'm kind of good at is telling stories. Because I told stories on 60 Minutes and I learned from the best. I think Andy Rooney, he was really old by the time I got there, but he was still around for a good 10 years before, I was there for 16 years. So, and I remember the first time I met Andy, I was coming through the lobby of the building at 60 Minutes, and he's shuffling towards me like this, and at this time, and he stops when he gets in front of me and he says, "I wish I knew you better." And that was it. He just kept on going. There went Andy. But, that was kind of an amazing thing to work with people like him. Mike Wallace, he always called me kid. "Hey, kid, when are you going to cut that hair? It's distracting. You got to cut the hair. Kid, listen to me. Great piece last night, but when are you going to cut the hair?" That's what I would get from Mike all the time. And he would leave me notes on my desk, which was quite something. But Ed Bradley was definitely one of my favorites. He was quoted, actually. I think I can say this because I promised only not to say the F word, but I was asked to promise not to say any other words, so I'm going to use this one. Okay, so he said I had the biggest balls of anyone he'd ever met. Talking about my reporting from the battlefield. I'm not really sure that was true, but it was a really great compliment coming from Ed, and I loved him. Absolutely loved him. So I had a really, profound experience of journalism and the media at 60 Minutes, and of the power of great storytelling. And maybe the greatest storytelling of all is in the Bible, right? My husband calls it the instruction manual. But when you start to read the Bible as a story, that's when it really kind of comes alive for you. So that's what it really kind of is coming alive for me. I'm not all the way through it. I want to read it as one long story to understand it from beginning to end. I think that takes... My neighbor just gave me an app that helps you do that in a year. That's not going to happen. However, it was a nice thought, and it's got me on the right track, so I appreciate that. But 60 Minutes is not what it used to be. My husband said when they fired me, well, they didn't really fire me, technically. My contract, I didn't let them fire me, and they never had grounds to fire me. But what I forced them to honor their contract. And then when my contract came up for renewal the second time, they didn't renew it. David Rhodes, ever heard of him? His brother Ben Rhodes worked for Susan Rice and Obama. Yeah, so he was the president, and he was determined to get rid of me, obvious reasons. But the thing is, when I left, then my husband said to me, "It's the end of 60 Minutes," and I didn't want to believe it. I was still hoping somehow I would be able to go back, because that kind of storytelling, where you take people, on this journey with you, and you weave in history and characters and details, it's magical, right? It's a gift from God, and it's disappearing. Nobody wants to pay for it anymore. Journalism is dying, and it's disappearing as faster than you can even imagine. And we're all celebrating the death of it because we've been betrayed, right? I mean, these people who are supposed to honor the First Amendment and take their responsibilities seriously, they betrayed us. But the worst part is they slit their own throats, right? But guess who benefits? The people who gave them the knife, who led them on that path. And so what's happening is journalism itself is dying out. It's literally dying out with the journalists, the people who know what journalism is. I'm 54 now. I've been a journalist since I was 17 years old. So journalism is disappearing. It's dying with the people who are dying, because you know what? The new generation coming up, they're not learning how to be journalists. However, However, I will tell you that in spite of that, there are some great young journalists out there and some great independent journalists. There's a guy, Taylor Kramer from RGV Truth, who's down in the Rio Grande Valley. He's doing great work. I mean, that kid has to have the hand of God on him because he sure as hell didn't learn that in college. You know what I mean? They're not teaching journalism in college. So, and why does it matter? Why does it matter? Well, it really does matter because how else are we going to hold people accountable? How else are we going to know what the truth is? You know, how else, who's going to fight for all of us? Who's going to fight for our children? I mean, that first step to what Tina, my wonderful, amazing, angelic friend Tina said today, they want your children, they want a body with no soul. That's what they're trying to do, a body with no soul. And as my husband, Joe, was talking on his panel on information warfare, it's a battle for your mind, but it's not just that information and propaganda is a weapon on that battlefield. It's become the whole battlefield. Because once they have your mind, then it's not that hard to get your soul, right? And so what I'm particularly worried about in this moment, I'm worried about the fact that no one is investing in young journalists. No one's investing in independent journalism. No one is investing in the craft of real investigative storytelling. And no one seems to care that it's disappearing. Because I can promise you that when you tell a story, I can give you 50 examples. Okay, here's one. If I say to you, 20 years ago tonight, some of America's most highly trained warriors landed in the midst of an Afghan desert in the dead of night. Now I'm telling you a story about a war that began 20 years ago, as opposed to me saying, it's the 20th anniversary of the war in Afghanistan, right? There's a totally different thing. And storytelling really matters because it moves people's hearts. And when you move people's hearts, you can make mountains move. So, you know, people often ask me how and why I do what I do and go to the places I've been to and see the things I've seen, and everyone assumes I have PTSD. And I am here in front of you to tell you, I do not have PTSD. And I never did. I never did. You know, they made me, after I was gang raped and sodomized and beaten almost to death in Egypt when I was working for 60 Minutes, they made me go and see a psychiatrist. I think the thing that almost drove me to drink was the psychiatrist. Okay, I mean, when she gave me the meditation CD, I'm like, I'm never coming back here. I'm never coming back here. Just the idea of sitting still. What was that? I don't understand what meditation is. Who has time to meditate? I gotta live. I have, you know, I mean, I got a whole life to live. And you want me to sit and think about what? And I've tried. I've had well-meaning friends along the way who've sat with me and done a live meditation. And, you know, do you see the forest? And do you see the opening? And I'm like, no, I see nothing. I was not built for meditation. I just gonna tell you, I was not built for meditation, and I was definitely not built for the health revolution because I start every morning with a Bailey's coffee. And I was, you know, and even when I was going through cancer, when I was 41, and I'd have to go for radiation, which was depressing, you know, and then there's all the other cancer ladies there in the changing room, and they're like, oh, have you given up sugar, dear? And I'm like, they're like, oh, you haven't given up sugar? Didn't you hear? Sugar feeds cancer. And I'm like, I mean, sorry, no. I mean, like, goodness gracious, holy guacamole, that's awful. Okay. So they said, you know, that, you know, you gotta give up sugar, you gotta have a positive attitude. I came out of that hospital. You know, I had radiation for 8 weeks. I called my sister from the parking lot of the hospital, and I was like, I gotta give up sugar or I'm gonna die. I've gotta be happy or I'm gonna die. I got a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old baby at home. And I am not happy about having cancer. And she said, it's okay, just cry. It's okay to cry. And I sat in that car, I cried for like 20 minutes, maybe 30, and I never cried again. I never cried again. And what does all of this really mean to me? It means like, I am just as God made me. He made me with such a strong sense of purpose that I know when I go into the battlefield or I go into someone's home. I interviewed a woman in Tennessee once whose only sister was murdered, and she never recovered from her sister's murder. And this brave woman and her life, you don't only find bravery on the battlefield. You find bravery in the young woman who's been a drug addict all her life and finds the courage to face that every day and get up. You find it in, I met a black guy once who's a fabulous musician on the team of, who's the Texas rapper, Joseph? Where's my husband? I'm getting old, my things go out. Struggle Jennings. He works for Struggle Jennings. Man, this guy told me a story. He was addicted to some drug I've never even heard of, because now there's so many chemical drugs that you don't even know what they are. You can't keep up with it. And he told me he had 2 kids, and his baby mama called him the one day and said, "I'm not dropping off the girls." And he said, "Why not?" And she said, "Because I don't know if they'll be safe." And he fell to his knees and he prayed to God, and he said, "God, I will never touch a drug again if you don't take my baby girls from me." And he never did. This man has custody. He has custody of he was a hardcore drug addict all of his life. When he grew up in one of those inner city neighborhoods, drugs all his life, street gangs and all that. Never touched a drug again. So you can find courage, and you can find honor and dignity, and you can find evil in every corner of the globe. Every corner of the globe. It's unbelievable. And there's a couple things that I want to touch on this evening. One of them is, I cannot say this strongly enough. I know I'm probably preaching to the converted, but I just feel called to tell you, the best friend, trafficking of children, crimes against children, as Mary calls it, and she's right, crimes against children have a best friend. You find them together all the time. If you find a crime against a child, you will find this. Who is the best friend? What is the best friend of crimes against children? Narcotics. Drugs. And so much so, I just interviewed a man. I can't tell you who, because this interview is confidential until we can release it. He's rescued kids for a long time. And he told me about one time when he was in an operation and he was pretending to be a buyer of children, and he went with this group of kids into a room, and this little boy who was 5 years old, I gotta remember not to say his name, was tugging on his shirt. "Mister, mister." And he turned down, he said, "Yes." And this little boy looked up at him, he said, "Are you going to give us cocaine?" So why do they want your kids to do drugs? Why don't we hear about the fentanyl crisis more? You know that the numbers for fentanyl overdose deaths are a fraction of what's really happening. They don't include the homeless population. I don't think they include the prison population. Why don't they care? Why don't they care? Everybody's got Narcan. You know what Narcan is doing? Do you know what Narcan is? The drug that they give people when they overdose, opioid overdoses. Every paramedic, every school nurse, everybody's got it. Your tax dollars are paying for it. Nobody's told you. Nobody's told you how many hundreds of millions of dollars are spent on Narcan. You know what else they don't tell you? When you overdose on opioids, your breathing receptors are basically overpowered, so they don't trigger the next breath. So you think you can't breathe, so you just stop breathing. That's it. You just stop. What Narcan does is it overpowers those receptors, and it's instant because you can stop breathing again. But what has happened in the interim? How long is it from overdose to Narcan? What happens to your brain as you go without oxygen? I tell you, I went into the homeless camps in San Francisco. I had to go to 3 camps before I could find a person who could complete a sentence. They're being decimated. We are being decimated by narcotics because they're not growing in the ground anymore. They're chemicals manufactured in a lab. And what does that mean? It means that they can get stronger and stronger and stronger. It means that the damage that is done. Who has seen Faces of Meth? That's the perfect example. Faces of Meth is faces of people who are meth addicts. You see this physical degradation and disintegration. It never returns. Just like the brain damage that people are getting never ever comes back, because these are chemically manufactured narcotics. And guess what? Those days of smoking weed and getting high and maybe having the munchies, this stuff is in everything. They're putting fentanyl in every drug that's out there. Every single drug that's out there. And now there's things like ketamine, right? I mean, ketamine is a horse tranquilizer. They're putting that in marijuana. Okay, and if you think these THC levels, I was just talking to a DEA agent about this, these THC levels are 5, 10, 15, 20 times what you might have gotten if you were in the 60s and you were smoking a joint. And what doesn't grow out of the ground, not to say that, you know, heroin was good for you or cocaine was good for you, but compared to these chemically manufactured pharmaceuticals, it's incomparable. And at the same time, this is what I want you to understand. This is how everything connects, okay? In academics, in the universities, there are research papers right now and for decades that are funded by people like the Ford Foundation, the Knight Foundation, the Open Society Foundation, the Tides Foundation. It's all the same people. They fund this research to argue and explain to you why we need to decriminalize narcotics. The decriminalization agenda is global. Every single thing I'm going to talk to you about now is global, because they have the global world that they always wanted. It exists. They created the digital realm, and that's the one world that we march to their tune in that digital world. So they have academia that creates papers and does research and provides, you know, that support base for it. Then they have the media that puts out the stories about it, right? Then they, then they have the people within government that advocate for that. Do you know how many years ago I was on the ground in Afghanistan? 2003, I was living there for a year. And there was a woman there from the Open Society Foundations trying to get the Afghans to legalize opium, because most of the world's opium comes from Afghanistan. Why was the Open Society Foundation have someone in Afghanistan? Why do they want you to do drugs so badly? Why? Because people who do drugs don't run for Congress. Most of the time. I mean, it's a little bit different today. I know it's a different crowd, okay? But typically they sit on their couch. You know, they can barely hold down a job, especially when you throw in things like fentanyl, which is so addictive. They can't be in the military, don't run a successful business. Most of them have broken homes, can't raise a kid. Definitely, you know what I mean? So the last time I think there was a study done on this was under Obama, and was when there was around 60,000 opioid deaths, and the estimated cost to the economy was over $525 million. You don't see those studies, because you notice those NGOs are funding the studies they want. Amazingly, they're admitting that vaccines cause autism, right? But we didn't see there wasn't any research to support that before, because they don't study the things that are inconvenient to them. But there's always a legal arm to this, and the legal arm to the narcotics is that they actually have people going after, like, the parents of fentanyl victims. How do I know? Because when I was doing a story on this, and I found this, I think it was called, I don't know if it was Moms for Fentanyl or something like that, of fentanyl victims. I reached out to these people. I'm thinking they're gonna be really glad that I'm shining a light and including this in my reporting. They didn't want to talk to me. It took me 3, 4, or 5 conversations before I could talk this dad into speaking with me. And it's because they get savaged. Just like you, Pastor Dave, you've been attacked for what you're doing. There are parents out there whose kids died of fentanyl, who want the drug dealer prosecuted, who get attacked for that. Because what do the decriminalization, legalized drug crowd say? They say, oh, you know, you can't go after the drug dealer because then he's not going to cooperate with us. Oh yeah, because they're so cooperative, drug dealers. That's really the issue. You don't hear about it because narcotics is a pillar of all these other things that are happening in our society. The hypersexualization of children. What do you find hand in hand with that? Drugs. You know, how do they get your kids to do things that they wouldn't otherwise do? Drugs. What do they say in the memes and in the TVs and in the movies? Drugs are cool. They want all of us, they want all your kids doing drugs because that's a step towards taking their souls. And once you cross that line, you know what happens to you? Once you cross that line, you do something when you're under the influence of narcotics that you would never have done otherwise. It becomes very uncomfortable to be who you were. And kids don't know how to do that. And they disappear. And you know who's waiting for them in the wings? Online networks of predators. And I'm not just talking about pedophiles. Have you ever heard of accelerationists? Know what accelerationists are? These are people who actually believe that by doing as much evil as they can accelerate the decline of humanity, that they will create so much evil in the world that we will collapse on ourselves. Yeah. Accelerationists, satanic accelerationist cults. One of the ones that you may have heard of recently, because it's being talked about in the media, is a group called 764. Thank you, with Becca Spinks. This is an amazing woman who's been studying this. So satanic accelerationist cults, what do they like to do? They use Nazi symbols sometimes, these different groups. There's one called the Maniac Murder Cult out of Ukraine. Isn't it funny how Ukraine keeps popping up? And not in a good way either. And what do? They use self-harm. So they like to get your kids to cut themselves on camera. And I'm not just talking about a few marks on the arm. I'm talking about cutting themselves to the bone, all over their body, carving the name of their trafficker or handler or contact into their skin, getting them to move from there into possibly suicide on camera. One just got arrested in Germany. He got a 13-year-old American boy to kill himself on camera. 2 years the German police sat on the information on him that was handed to them by the FBI before they did anything. I want you to think about what that means. A kid in the United States of America was trafficked by a man in Germany who he never met. Never met him. There is an amazing documentary by a Canadian program. The show is called The Fifth Estate. I watched the story of a girl who was trafficked by, I think it was the 764 network. They got her to agree to commit suicide in a bath of boiling water, a bathtub of boiling water filled with her blood, where she had cut herself. I've seen the photographs on her body from head to toe. She was cut. They got her to try to drown herself under the water with a chain around her neck while her mother was beating on the bathroom door. Just want you to think about that for a second. When you hear on this stage that they're after your children, when you hear they want a body without a soul, I'm not kidding you. There is an investigation, officially, according to the FBI, they have an investigation open into the 764 network at every single field office of the FBI in the United States of America. Because what does technology do? It proliferates everything. Every dark thought, every dark desire, and the mechanism to make it all happen to scale happens in the digital world. You would never, if any of these people showed up at your door and said, imagine you have 16 psychotic pedophile traffickers show up at your door and they say, hey, we're just here to hang out with your son. or your 12-year-old daughter. You would say, I'm sorry, who are you? But when you handed your kid a phone, you opened the door to every pedophile network in the world, every satanic accelerationist cult. And you know what they do in these groups? They recruit for murder. One of them is the third Trump assassin, the kid who murdered his parents first, and then was on his way to meet the person that was to send him to go and try to assassinate President Trump. Mass shooters, mass stabbings in Europe. This is not accidental. These are not random groups. They create a cult. They get your kids to do things, send a photograph, compromise them in some way, compromise them sexually, and guess how they train them for the murder of human beings or to take their own lives. They train them by getting them to torture, abuse, and murder animals. So that little girl who tried to kill herself in the bathtub, her mother said in that show that she spent 2.5 years, she had to lock herself into her bedroom at night. And she had to lock their dogs up so that they weren't murdered by her daughter. So these accelerationists, this girl, Becca Spinks, who I interviewed, she believes that there were accelerationists on the ground on January 6th. Because you can see there's a difference between some of the Antifa people and then some of the more violent people. And so when you try to make sense of evil, these are people who literally do evil for the sake of evil, because they want as much evil in the world as they possibly can generate. So this is your worst nightmare as a parent. Could you imagine that your child takes their own life because of people they have never, ever met? And I can promise you, as bad as it sounds to you, I watched a video of a group of these boys getting a girl to bite off the head of her hamster. Yeah, and you can hear the demons in some of their voices. There's one, I can't repeat what the guy says because of the language he uses, but he says, do it or I'm going to up your life. And the way he says it, it's completely demonic. But they're not the only ones. So within these dark networks that exist online, there's also something called incels. And if you have teenagers as grandchildren or children, they know what incels are. Incels are the involuntarily celibate. These are the kids that can't function in normal society now. We have generations of them. Just want you to know that. We've raised generations of kids who can't function in real society. So what do? They sit in their underwear in their room or the basement or wherever, and they live online. And they are pedophiles. What they do, how they bring your children in, they either send them gore, which could be somebody in a motorcycle accident or a truck accident, right? Getting hit by a truck or whatever, and you see the person's head fly off. So the gore is a huge thing across the internet. So they send them gore or they send them sexually explicit material, usually involving children, because most of them are pedophiles. And that's how they draw your children in. And all of these things like OnlyFans, where you can show your toes and someone with a toe fetish can pay to subscribe to you or whatever, these are all training ground for all of this. They're teaching your kids all bad things. Number one, how not to work, right? Because now you're not earning a living through hard work and understanding, the fruits of your labor and so on. No, it's a shortcut. We all know shortcuts are not good, right? How many times did you try to take a shortcut and it was the worst decision you ever made? Shortcuts usually don't work. They don't work. You can shortcut your way to the top and everybody knows you're fake. So why do I not care what they say about me? Because I've done just about every job in journalism. I was a radio reporter, a print reporter. I know how to edit. I did sound if I had to. You know what I mean? I crawled to the bedroom at night, crippled by my injuries from Egypt, and worked myself into a coma, wrote my own stories, produced. There's no shortcuts. Why someone else looks at it and says, like, I want to be like her. I want her career. But they don't want to do they want to take shortcuts. They want to jump from college to being famous. It doesn't work that way, sweetheart. Sorry. You're going to have to put in a little hard work. Something very old-fashioned. It's called hard work. No, they don't teach our kids that anymore. No, there's no value left in hard work. No, it's you can make a fortune by selling yourself. Right. Selling yourself, some part of yourself, which is another step to selling your soul. And it's a godless world out there. Just think about that. All the symbols, all the energy that comes at our kids is satanic. Not today, Satan. Right? Yes, because God is not cool. Jesus is not cool. Church is not cool. Just like Tina said, they've taught our children to doubt. That's what they're taught. And we're also taught, I have the softest heart, and so does my husband occasionally. And my children, we believe in kindness and respect were the only two rules really in our home. So my son doesn't understand it when I say, that's not acceptable. What do you mean? Can you, he had a friend who was trans. He wanted me to call her a boy. And I was just like, this is hard. And he's like, but you're going to break her heart. His heart, I don't know, it was so confusing. Anyway, the thing is this, how do you draw that line between kindness and tolerance and acceptance and love, but also having, actually standing for something? Because I think you said it earlier today, Pastor Dave, that it doesn't say in the Bible that you should just accept everything. It doesn't say that. But at the same time, it's not up to us. It is up to us and it's not up to us. You got to figure that one out. It's taken me 50 years, but I think I got there. So anyway, I wanted to tell you about these satanic accelerationist cults because there's something very important you need to know. This is not on the dark web. It's out in the open. It's on the internet. It's not hiding. So you can go on Facebook all day long and you can never see that because you don't look for the things that lead you there. And that algorithm doesn't target you because it's got all your data. Remember when you thought that data collection was about whether you wanted to buy a new motorbike or try a new product or go on a beach vacation? I hate to tell you, it's got nothing to do with that. It's literally got nothing to do with it. That is like the least important part of it. It's got to do with identifying the exact moment that your child has an argument with you, feels misunderstood, sends a text message to somebody, my mother doesn't care about me, my father hates me, bam. And that's when they strike. And when your kid is on Fortnite and they go into a game and they've got 100 people on this team and 100 people on that team, who are they playing with? You don't know. And the number one site where they traffic kids, Discord, YouTube. And if you think that your child is safe because you're homeschooling, sorry, no. Not at all. In fact, I have a friend who rescues kids in Texas, and her last 3 rescues were all autistic homeschool kids. And they love kids who are on the spectrum. Love kids who are on the spectrum. They are number one of the biggest targets. And it's so funny because many years ago, when I was living in Baghdad, I lived in Iraq for 5 years. I was the chief foreign correspondent for CBS News, and I was a correspondent for 60 Minutes. And I stumbled across something which I'd never had this happen to me. Somebody emailed me, and it was, they used a random, it wasn't like, what is it, your John Hancock for your signature? It wasn't like a Joe blog, but it was kind of like one of those generic terms, for Joe nobody kind of thing. And I got this email. I'm sitting in the Baghdad bureau of CBS News, and I open up the email, and I'm shocked. Never seen anything like it. There are photographs of emaciated Iraqi children. Little kids, all the way up to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And they're in extreme forms of starvation and dehydration, and it looks like abuse. And some of them, one boy in particular, covered in flies and sores and bleeding and all of this. And there's American soldiers with them, and they're treating them. And so It took me a little while to process it, but I get on the phone with the American Public Affairs officer in Baghdad, and I'm like, okay, so I understand you guys recently did a rescue, and I knew the guy because I'd been living there a long time, and he'd been deployed for a while. And we set this whole thing up. Oh yeah, I said, I want to go to the place where the kids were rescued. I want to go to the place where the kids are now. I want to talk to the soldiers who rescued them, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, this is too easy. I'm just waiting for something to go wrong. Because by the way, real journalism is never that easy, right? It's always hard. So I'm like, okay, well, we're leaving in the morning. I get the crew ready, all the rest of it. Then my phone rings, and it's the PAO, and he's like, oh, man, I'm so sorry. He's like, we're going to have to cancel. And I'm like, uh-huh. And why is that? And he's like, oh, because this was an Iraqi operation. This was an Iraqi rescue, and you're going to have to go through the Ministry of Interior. I didn't tell him I had photographs. I hadn't told him that. So I said, really? No Americans there? No, no Americans there. I said, that's fascinating. I said, because guess what? I'm looking at all these photographs, and I don't see an Iraqi face other than the kids. And I laid out a couple of details for him, and he was like, silence on the end of the phone, and he's like, okay, I'll get right back to you, okay? So then he called me back. This went on for a couple of hours. I broke him, basically. Wasn't the first time. I'd done that. Sheer force of will. I shamed them. You know, actually, that's probably a little bit arrogant. Who knows? Maybe somebody on that other side wanted it to get out, because it was one of the most horrific things I've ever seen. So we go off in the morning. And I did that story. And when that story went out on CBS News, you know, I was Glamour Woman of the Year, and I was New York Times and Washington Post writing all these crazy articles about me and, you know, my amazing work. That was when they loved me. And almost everything I did, I got awards I didn't even know I was in for. And I thought, wow, this piece will surely win every award there is. And I never got a single award. And I'm going to tell you afterwards why I think that is. But I dug this, actually Luke dug this up today. Luke Coffey, where are you? Luke, my producer and co-host and January 6th insurrectionist, who was almost sent to prison for 25 years for praying over the West Tunnel, over the violence, asking in the name of Lord Jesus, please stop this. Yeah. Luke found it for me. I asked him to look for it, and I think we have that video, and I want you to see this piece because I want to tell you something about this.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Couric, and welcome to Eye to Eye. This week, correspondent Lara Logan broke the story of an Iraqi orphanage filled with mistreated, malnourished children who were rescued by U.S. and Iraqi troops. Today, Lara talked to one of those soldiers about the progress the children are now making.
But these kids, I mean, they're being fed now. They're safe. They've got somewhere to sleep inside. They're being treated like much more like human beings than before. But what kind of a future do they have?
This is it right here.
This is their future?
This is their future. I mean, I just don't know of any other government organization in Iraq that they could provide these kids with some kind of work program or a home for them to stay in. In the United States, some of these kids are orphaned out, and they get adopted by people that want to help. And I just don't see that happening here. I'm sure like their primary concern here, the actual people that work here, their primary concern is obviously is for their health more than anything. But
just keeping them alive.
It's keeping them alive. But how often are they going to get out of these cribs and interacting with each other instead of interacting through bars? I don't know. You know, they're going to do that. I've been in here 3 times, and every time they're all isolated in their own chair or their own crib. Yeah, they're being cared for, which is, you know, huge considering what they've been going through.
What would you like to do if you could walk in here with a magic wand? What would you fix and make happen?
I get specialized people to come in here. I mean, all it would take is one day for them to come in and tell these guys that work here what needs to happen for their personal growth. That's it.
Does it frustrate you to see this?
It frustrates me that, people are naive when it comes to these kind of situations. They don't understand that, yeah, he's mentally retarded. He still thinks, he still feels, he still reacts to human contact. But people are just like, okay, he's mentally retarded, mentally handicapped. Just shove him off to the side and don't worry about it. It's not the case. We'll leave here and he'll remember us till the day he dies. He'll remember us as the guys that came in here, took him out, the situation he was in, and put him in this situation. He'll never be able to tell us thanks. He doesn't need to, really. We've seen him moving around, breathing on his own, looking like he's alive. It's enough thanks. It ought to be enough thanks, and it is for our soldiers that came in here.
How does this compare to the U.S., to the kind of care these children would be getting?
Some of these kids wouldn't be here. Some will probably be in a hospital. Until like this guy, he'd probably be in a hospital. That's treating his wounds for one. I don't even know where they came from. Like his ears like that, unless he picks at them.
From the concrete?
These are like freaking cigarette burns on his arm. Or if he's scratching his own face or scratching his ears. Those wounds would be treated at a regular hospital. And then he'd be sent to a special needs hospital.
But he would at least have a life beyond this crib.
Yeah. And we see how many people work with these kids, We come up on those guys that are eating out there. There's like 12 of them out there and 2 people watching them. The ratio back in the United States would be so much different. For one kid with Down syndrome, severe case of Down syndrome, is 1-to-1 every day. Here, there's probably 5 kids in this room with Down syndrome. The guys that work here don't even know what Down syndrome is. I just don't know how somebody could come and treat them like they did and walk away with a clean conscience. What benefit did they get out of doing that?
So that wasn't the piece. That was the piece that ran the next night when I did that interview with him, because I ran a series of stories. That's what Luke, you're in trouble. So, but I can tell you that child that we were standing at his crib. So what happened was that a unit of soldiers was on an operation and they were looking for someone. And when they looked over the wall, they saw these kids chained and starving. And then when they climbed, what they did actually was take a basketball that they had in the Humvee and they put that over the wall and they threw it in there to see if anyone was alive. They thought all the kids were dead. And one kid lifted its head and then dropped it. And that's what got them to break in over the wall. And what they found was, you could see how emaciated those kids were, but what you're seeing is the cleanup. What you're actually looking at is the cover-up. That's what you're looking at. Because in that house, the people running it were just down the hallway, eating, preparing dinner when the soldiers came in. They had those kids, there was 50, 60, 70, 80 of them. I don't remember exactly how many, but there were a lot. They were chained to their cribs. Most of them were naked. That little boy behind us in the crib there, he was covered in sores and flies. Now, I went back many times and visited with him over the next couple of weeks, but unfortunately he succumbed to his wounds and he died. And that was very hard for me personally, because this orphanage was right across the road from a death mosque in southern Baghdad, where they were murdering, actually where the Shia proxies were hanging people on meat hooks and peeling off their skin. That's the kind of nice stuff that Iran did inside of Iraq to its enemies at that time. So it was very hard for me, but the soldiers would take me because they knew that I felt strongly about this story. And the amazing part was that they had rooms of food and supplies and clothes that had been donated for the orphanage, that the 4 adults in there were not using. And you know why they weren't using them? Because they were farming human blood from those kids. They were harvesting adrenochrome. And I didn't know that when I reported the story. I didn't report that at the time, but I found out later from U.S. intelligence source that that's what they were doing. That's why that little boy had cigarette burns. I don't know if you could hear anything. That's why he had cigarette burns. That's why they weren't not feeding them, because they didn't have food. I saw it with my own eyes. I saw the stacks and stacks of clothes and food. They did it because they were torturing those kids. It's a phenomenon called war orphans. And you can see it in Haiti. And there were reports that I wasn't able to confirm just because I was working on other things, but there were reports that I heard about North Carolina. This is something we have to worry about now when disaster hits. And so I wanted you to see what the scene that greeted those soldiers when they first came in, because that was life-changing for many of them. And it is just evidence that this is very, very real. And now, that kind of thing that would happen in person with a small group is now proliferated on the internet. And every dark person, you now can have a man. There was a man arrested in Michigan who ordered 100 child rapes, paid for 100 child rapes at the same time, had all these TV screens in his apartment. They do other things where they jointly rape and torture a kid. There's things where they cut certain veins because they want a blood show. There's a whole genre of pornography now called sadistic porn. It's called hurtcore, where they hurt people as much as they can and in ways that you don't even want to think about. I asked a Facebook content moderator once, what's the kind of stuff that you automatically doesn't make it onto Facebook? And he's like, oh, well, these people that have these, fetishes with puppies. I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, oh, they like to get a bag of puppies and a girl wears stilettos and then she stomps the puppies to death. Yeah, he said, we see that all the time. We see that all the time. And that was a good 10 years ago, he told me that. But just like you had election, people could steal elections locally before technology, what does technology now do? Enable them to steal every election worldwide. And this is something I really want you to think about, because this is something that you can do something about. I want you to think about the fact that every single piece of video and every photograph is stored on someone's server. Tech companies know exactly what is happening, and they know where it comes from, and they have the ability to trace it. So why do they allow it? Why are none of these people being stopped, or very few of them being stopped? Why is it getting worse and worse and worse? Ask Tina, ask Baz. They'll tell you that the numbers are going through the roof. Child porn, through the roof. Child sex trafficking, through the roof. Animal brutality, zoophilia, they call it, gave it a nice fancy new name now. It's not bestiality anymore, it's zoophilia. Why is it through the roof? Why does nobody ask Ericsson, the company that has servers that stores child pornography for the National Child Exploitation hotlines in 152 countries in the world? Every time you send an image of child porn, it moves along somebody's cables, right? It's hitting somebody's tower. It doesn't go into the cloud. It doesn't evaporate. There's no such thing as delete. Only for Hillary Clinton and Bleach Pit, by the way. But seriously, ask anybody in the digital world. And yes, it can be masked and you can hide your tracks, but ultimately everything is traceable. And yet we are living now. And what is technology today? Why do they put a clock on your phone? Never want you to turn it off, because this is Satan's way of mimicking the omnipotence of God. He's all-seeing and all-knowing through the technology. So I'm telling you this because it is so important. It is so important for us to start demanding a digital Bill of Rights. You don't own your own image online. Do you know that? You don't own your own image. You don't own your own photographs. You don't own it, because when you hit download on that app, there was a fine print there that said that they have an unlimited worldwide copyright of everything you do. You're an architect, you design something, you email it. Guess who owns your design now? Just because they don't enforce it yet, doesn't mean they don't own it yet. They already do. And let me tell you where it's sitting, on servers in the Nevada desert and inside a mountain in Utah and underground in Colorado. And it's guarded under lock and key. They have massive security, cameras and everything that you can imagine. Why? Because it's so valuable to them. It's everything. It's absolutely everything. And the number one target are your kids. And we talked a lot about girls being sex trafficked, but we didn't talk about the boys. And there are whole categories now that exist online. If you don't know what a femboy is, you should look that up. There's all these categories of kids that dress as girls. You don't even have to be gay, but you spend your life dressed as a female anime character. And you now have your own site on TikTok and on Insta or whatever it is. And you live like that. And so you get celebrated like that. Well, who are they looking for? Who are the traffickers looking for? Boys today sell for 3 times as much as girls on the streets of Texas. And there's something called a rainbow railroad where they get transitioned underground. So they got everything right there. They got the doctors ready right there to chop you up and put you on a path that can never be reversed. Can never be reversed. And who's the number one buyer for those kind of kids? Married couples. Yeah. So really what I want to leave you with, I know, I'm sure that all of you are here because you're concerned about this and you're committed to doing something about it and you're trying to figure out your place and your way. I just want, I can only tell you from my point of view that as I have gotten to know more and more about this, it's very obvious that we live in a time of spiritual warfare and good versus evil. And people like Tina and Boz and others, Troy, you know, people who are on the front line of this, they stare evil in the face every single day. But yet they still stand as a symbol of strength and good. Right? And they stand for God. And we are lucky to work together. I've known Boz for a very, very long time, since I was a young girl, but we work with Mother Mary. Where's Mary? With Mary Flynn. I call her Mother. I think I called her Mother Mary first, by the way. I'm claiming it. Okay. So we all work together, and as we journey across the U.S. talking to people, we encounter amazing people like Michelle. I think you heard from her, and she's working on that legislation, right? And we encounter amazing people like you, Pastor Dave, and many others. And so I don't want your hearts to be heavy. I want you to feel the fire of energy behind you, because God is good. And honestly, I mean, I have survived all kinds of things. And I got to figure he kept me alive for a reason, right? And that reason was for this moment. Pastor Dave Scarlett always says, we're so lucky to be alive in this moment. And it hasn't felt like we're lucky to be alive. But you know what? There's a great peace when you let go what other people think of you. And you and it's hard. My kids were kicked out of school because of me, not because of anything they did. You know, I just got the police called on me in a school board meeting. I didn't know when the policeman showed up, and I gave him a big hug because I happen to know him. You know, I was like, Ben, and he couldn't resist. He had to come around from the desk, give me a hug. Then he followed me to the parking lot, and he's like, don't do that to me again. I'm like, what? He's like, I felt sick when the call came in over the radio, and so it was you I had to throw out of the meeting. He didn't even have the courage to do it. That's because I live in a small town. I said like 4 words when I wasn't supposed to speak. And so the chairman of the school board, he said, you have to leave. And I said, no. Yeah. And that meeting was about, of course, pornographic hypersexualization of kids, the school material. It's still happening. It is still happening. And even though the state of Texas has made this material illegal, it's still in the libraries. And they're hiding behind regulations. And this one is complaining about how many hours it's taking to go through the books. And nobody's complaining about what the kids are actually being exposed to. This one old hippie lady told me it's educational. She said, it's educational. And then I said, do you understand this is a gateway to trafficking and what's happening to our kids? And this other woman said, well, you know, so she said, I said, it's being endorsed by the school, by being in the library. She said, if I put Mein Kampf in the library, does that mean we're endorsing it? I said, it's banned. So she said, well, if I put the Diary of Anne Frank, does that mean we're endorsing the Holocaust? I said, no, Anne Frank is an indictment of the Holocaust. What are you, a moron? But this is the fight that we have. This is the fight that we have every single day. And I know you've had a long night. I want to bring up onto the stage two people who are very, very special to me, who have an amazing, great performers, both of them. Ilanka Deaton and Eddie. Eddie, I've forgotten your dad's last name, because I know you're not what's your last name? Hall.
Edward Hall.
Eddie Hall. Okay, so let me tell you about Ilanka and Eddie. So Mary Flynn, thank you for catching me. Okay, this is her son, Eddie, who's a rapper and a great skateboarder. And Eddie actually was, you know, in the grips of the music industry, and he was going places. But they offered him a contract that he wasn't prepared to take. They asked him to sell his soul, and he said no. And it wasn't because he wasn't talented, it's because he had principles, right? And because he knew who he was. And so Eddie is very talented, and he has a song with my sister. She's not really my sister, but my South African sister, Ilanka Deaton. If you haven't seen the episode of my show, Going Rogue with Lara Logan with Ilanka, the interview that I did with her about the 6 years in the music industry where she was trafficked from 12 years old to 18, raped for years. This is one of the most extraordinary women that I've ever been lucky enough to know, who not only overcome and survived 2 suicide attempts and all the rest of it, but just has the joy of life and music and God that comes from her, and is such a powerful living testimony to not just surviving, not just overcoming, but to living fully and powerfully and so beautifully. And her husband, where's Bill? He's here. Yeah. My favorite part of the interview is when she talked about surviving a suicide attempt where she ran into the traffic and her Victoria's Secrets. And you know, she's South African, so she says secrets. And I was like, Ilanka, it's Victoria's Secret. No, never mind. She knows. She knows. Okay, that's an incredible episode. I want you, please go and watch that and share it as much as you can. You will never hear a more powerful testimony. But I'm going to get out of the way and let them sing and perform, because, what did you tell them about the song?
You're amazing, by the way. That was incredible. Everybody give her a hand. I'm going to say this. Yeah. You're amazing. You know that? Yeah, you are. Blixen. That was good.
They don't know what Blixen is.
Oh my goodness. Well, whenever Laura speaks, you're either going to go home and throw up, or you're really going to like soak it in, and you're going to like dig your heels in, you know. So for those of you who want to throw up, we thought we might leave you with a song that is filled with hope. It's called Something in the Water, and it's all about just God's redemption.
Yep.
About God's redemption and healing you. So you can rock it out here up with this, Laura, but it's called Something in the Water. I wrote this. It's part of my testimony, and then Eddie jumped in. I said, man, I need a rap on this, dude. I sound way more like Celine Dion, but you can rap, so let's do this thing. Yes. Stay with us. Here we go. Can we take that from the top? Thank you. Here we go. Yeah, y'all can stand up.
I wasn't looking for freedom. It was something that I thought I had. Rebellious, wild and running. It was sad, sad, sad. I could feel a change was coming.
It's coming, y'all.
Whether I wanted it or not. I started talking to Jesus. I said, hey, show me what you got. My troubles took me to the river, and I laid them down, down, down. There's something in the water that set me free. That old preacher put me under, and he baptized me. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, we got together at the river. Ooh, believe it, there's something in the water. Well, I was drowning in the flow of mercy, current sweeping through my soul, and it flooded me with salvation. Well, the grace I thought I'd never know. My troubles took me to the river, and I laid them down, down, down. You know there's something in the water that set me free. That old preacher put me under, and he baptized me. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, we got together in the river. Something in the water that set me free. That old preacher put me under, and he baptized me. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, we got to down, 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 down. And then he saved me. Oh yeah.
Been so far out like Lander. These raps is righteous cantor. Lies they spread when around the world the truth ain't put its pants on. My people need the healing, so they stop robbing, stealing. Refuge, rock, and redeemer. 3 words I say, thank you, Jesus. Euphrates River, book of Revelation. 6 trumpet judgment. Never forsake us, they love you. Sitting at the right hand of Abba, Father, Master, spiritual advisor. Lyrical Mayalika, precious mother, sons and daughters, highest praise.
There's something in the water that dreams you put me under. There's something in the water. There's something in the water. Hallelujah, Jesus.
Wow, wow, wow. Okay, Pastor Dave, you got to come up here and close us out. Let these tired people go home. Eddie, you're amazing. Amazing. I loved it. Wasn't that incredible? Woo! Your voice.
All right. Wow. We had a fun time today, didn't we? Listen, tomorrow it starts here at 10. The doors will open, I think, at maybe 9 or 9:30, but the meeting starts at 10 tomorrow. Tonight, if you want to hang around, we're going to show a video. Let's see, what's the name of this video? It's called Death County and Broken Dreams. It's a 50-minute video. featuring Tom Homan and by Chris Bergard from His Glory. So should be great. That'll be starting here in about 30 minutes. Anyway, all the sponsors' booths are open, and so I want to encourage you to stop by those. I know it's been a long day. You've been a great audience. Thank you for coming out, and let's hear it one more time for all our speakers. They did a really, really great job. We're going to have a great day tomorrow. Alonka Deaton's going to be sharing her testimony. And the way I know her, I saw that on Laura Logan Going Rogue, and I thought we have got to have her come. So we've saved the best to last. You won't want to miss it tomorrow. Also, Mary Crowley is going to be sharing, and we're going to have some other speakers too, but it's going to be a really great time. So God bless you. Thanks for coming out tonight. Have a great night. Hi there. My name is Dave Bryant. This is my beautiful wife, Cheryl. We're the senior pastors at the Church of Glad Tidings in Yuba City, California, and oversee the Embassy of Heaven here. And we've been here since 1987, believe it or not. And the motto of the church here.
My name is Tom Homan. For a year and a half, I was a director of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement for the Trump administration. Under our guidance, the border was secure. It was the most secure border in this nation's history. But now, things have changed. Chaos and even death prevail. My mission is to see that the border gets secured again and save lives. Welcome to defend the border and save lives.
Mr. Holman, is there a crisis on the border?
Of course.
And has there been a crisis there for a long time?
Yes.
How did we get to this point where we take children out of mothers' and fathers' arms? Here is the memo that I would like to submit to the congressional record. It seems like this is the source of it. Mr. Holman, your name is on this. Is this correct?
Yes, I signed that memo.
And so the recommendation of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation. Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their...
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm gonna be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that.
Mr. Holman, with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum and go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.
Mr. Holman, I'm a father. Do you have children? How can you possibly allow this to happen under your watch? Do you not care? Is it because these children don't look like children that are around you? I don't get it. Have you ever held a deceased child in your arms?
First of all, your comments are disgusting. I've served my country for 34 years.
I find your comments disgusting as well.
I've served my country for 34 years. And yes, I held a 5-year-old boy in my arms and back that tractor trailer. I knelt down beside him and said a prayer for him because I knew what his last 30 minutes of his life were like. And I had a 5-year-old son at the time. What I've been trying to do my 34 years serving my nation is to save lives. So if you just sit there and insult my integrity and my love for my country and for children, that's why this whole thing needs to be fixed.
The time of the gentleman has expired.
I've asked you politely to let me go beyond my time, and you let other people go beyond their time, but not to Tom Homan. He don't get me go beyond his time.
Mr. Homan, we have approved an agreement between. Please respect the chair's authority. The
I
gentleman.
respect the chair's authority, but the chair.
Mr. Homan.
But you work for me. I'm a taxpayer. I grew up in a small town. I grew up milking cows. I grew up believing and saying exactly what I believe in and saying what I want to say. And if people don't like me, they cannot like me. I never pull punches. I never dance around the truth. I tell them exactly what I think, and they can like it or love it. It is what it is. I was in Dallas, Texas, giving a speech to the International Chiefs of Police. And I got the phone call saying there's a tragedy in Victoria, Texas, and I need to get down there and run the investigation.
Authorities say temperatures reached 170 degrees inside the locked trailer.
It was down Victoria, Texas. Then we got taken over to the crime scene. And when I got to the crime scene, I was walked through the crime scene by, I think it was a Texas Ranger. There's some dead migrants that fell out the tractor trailer onto the ground. And most of the dead migrants were in the trailer. So I hopped up to the trailer and did what I do as a criminal investigator. And I had a photographer there taking photos. So I was standing back to tractor trailer with 17 dead migrants, including a 5-year-old little boy that was underneath his dad. His dad had him cradled, almost like he was protecting him. So I walked around the back of that tractor trailer and one at a time, taking pictures of the position of the body and where they're located back to that tractor trailer. And the photographer, I told him that we're going to stay away from the child. We're going to save him for last. The reason I did that, because I could not handle it at the time. I had a 5-year-old son at the time. And I've seen a lot of terrible things. For some reason, that little boy hit me hard. So we saved him for last. And we finally did get to him. I knelt beside him, I put my hand on him, and said a prayer. Because I knew what his last hour, what his last 30 minutes of life were like. He's in a steel box. No light, pitch black, up to 175, 180 degrees. Can't breathe. You can only imagine that he was scared to death, crying, begging his father to help him. Father couldn't help him. You got to think what his father was going through, because his father put him in that position. Fast forward, we put 14 people in prison, everybody involved. I wish we could have put them in prison the rest of their lives because of what these 19 migrants went through. And that experience changed who I was. So when people see me either on the Fox network or they see me testifying in front of Congress, they say, why do you get so emotional? When you secure the border, you save lives. That's why after I retired, I wrote a book, Defend the Border, Save Lives. When you have a secure border, you save lives. And it upsets me that all the death I've seen on that border over 34 years, that was just one instance of many. We had the most secure border in my lifetime under President Trump. And President Biden came in and unsecured it. So that's why I'm pissed off. More people are going to die, and I said that. When you open the border up, more people are going to die. In Brackenville, Texas, sheriffs and judges from around the border region have gotten together to stand up and declare a state of evasion.
Today is historic. This is the first time any judge anywhere in America has ruled that we're suffering an invasion on our southern border. You see, we've been under invasion at our southern border for a long, long time, especially under this administration where it is complete lawlessness.
Actually, going to union, part of that agreement was they would protect our border, and they are not doing it. They're far from doing it.
Constitution on Article 4 mandates that the federal government must protect every state from invasion. It's a constitutional mandate. It's not voluntary. So yeah, they do have a guarantee clause under Article 4 that they must keep us free from invasion.
America doesn't know. They don't know what's happening here. And we're here to try to change that.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dale Lynn Carruthers. I'm the county judge from Carroll County.
Sheriff Roy Boyd from Goliad County, Texas.
County judge in Goliad County. The mayor of the city of Uvalde, Texas.
Kinney County attorney.
I represent the 21st Congressional District of Texas. I'm the sheriff here in Kinney County.
Just the month of May alone, and a pasture right behind my house, there was 49 illegals apprehended.
A lot of fence damage, stolen vehicles, damage to property.
The coyotes bring in people through our community, pedophiles, convicted murderers, drug dealers, gang members.
You hear the term invasion, and that's exactly what this is.
Last month, we had 4,350 something. Month before that, 4,200. We are under siege. What they're doing right here is what the Attorney General of Texas needs to do, which is recognize an invasion.
It is an invasion that is being pushed by the cartels into our country, and it must come to a stop.
This is not sustainable for Texas. That a court, a judge in this country, has found as a matter of law that the United States is being invaded. That has never happened before today.
But what is it really like on the front lines of the border? This is a Rio Grande. Under President Biden, has turned into a river of broken dreams.
These are birth control pills. There's a condom.
We don't know if they are the parents to these children or not.
Right.
Usually they will use them because they think that they'll get an easier access into the country, where at this point, all you have to do is walk up. It also points to the smuggling that is going on. There's a lot of smuggling going on, and why would you get smuggled if you could just come in and turn yourself in? Because they're trying to avoid detection, because they have criminal histories, because they have their links to the cartel or to gang memberships.
The whole border crisis, there's nothing made up about the border crisis. We're getting attacked every single day. Nobody understands that this happens several times a day.
Mark Garcia is a former Border Patrol agent who still lives in Eagle Pass. He was medically retired from the Border Patrol after he and his team saved 90 women and children from drowning in the Rio Grande. For his actions that night, Mark was awarded the Congressional Badge of Bravery.
But you don't think that the Biden administration supports this?
Oh, I know they support it. They have to. There's no way that these people are just showing up out of the blue saying, oh, I was just told to walk here. Every single one of my buddies is telling me right now, whenever they start the interview process, they're being told by the illegal alien, yo soy invitado. I'm invited. You need to hurry up, give me my paperwork, because your president invited me to come.
This is the United States of America. It's a shame what the groups have done to the land here with all the trash, clothing, All across the southern border of Mexico, see those residents sitting up high. We're being monitored right now. And they're going to decide when these groups pass, depending on where the enforcement activity is. Just mounds and mounds of clothing and trash as far as you can see. They know once they get here, they can dump this stuff because they'll be taken into custody for a few hours. The United States government give them new clothing, new shoes, new backpacks, and a plane ticket or bus ticket to anywhere in the United States they want to go. I just picked up some identification cards. I got several here out of thousands laying around. Venezuela, Cuba, Guinea, another Venezuelan, a Nicaraguan. Border Patrol's arrested people from 161 different countries around the world. Many more IDs. Why they dump them here before they turn themselves into the authorities? Why would anybody do that? Why I've been doing this 35 years, I can tell you why. They don't want them to know who they are. Are they criminals? Are they on the terrorist watch list? They want to come here and start a whole new life with a whole new ID because they're hiding something? Again, that's a public safety concern, that's a national security concern. When you open the border up, you open up national security issues, and the only way you stop it is defend the border and save lives. Over 800 migrant deaths so far in this administration. I'll tell you something else that keeps me up at night. Why are we seeing such a huge uptick in military-age males coming in from communist countries? Countries that have strategic reasons to do us harm.
Venezuela.
Nicaragua.
Soldados? El Danto, sí, señor.
Ask him what his job was ocupado in the military.
Yo soy chef y ingeniero.
He's an engineer. Engineer?
Sí, y chef.
Chef?
Sí, sí.
And served in Patriot too? He was a soldier. What do we see him?
Sí serví, pero no. Sí serví, pero.
He's being a little evasive. They're not telling us.
How many trained soldiers are dropping their IDs at the razor wire? Having thousands upon thousands of foreigners trained in the use of military arms and explosives scattered throughout our country should scare the hell out of everybody. ¿Tenéis niños? Pásale.
Buenos días.
Pásale esto.
Buenos días.
¿De dónde es? ¿De dónde es?
Nicaragua.
¿De dónde es?
Nicaragua.
Nicaragua. Bueno.
¿De dónde es?
Nicaragua.
¿Todos?
Nicaragua. Buena.
¿Cuántos tienes? ¿Ah? ¿Quién es tu padre? ¿Solamente? 13-year-old all by himself. ¿Cuántos años tienes? ¿De dónde es? ¿Nicaragua? Hey, ¿de dónde es?
Nicaragua.
Okay. 13-year-old by himself. And there's a smuggler walking back with his pockets full of cash. What he's going to do, he's just going to go back to Mexico. He's already got his money. He doesn't give a shit. But he can't control that group. There's 12 or 13 of them. There was a 13-year-old in there. If one of them get caught in the current, they're dead. That smuggler's not going to save them. His pockets are already full of cash. So as soon as he got him close, he turned around and went back. Because number one, he didn't want to be arrested. Number two, he's already got his money. This is the United States of America. It's supposed to be sovereign land. We're supposed to be able to control our own border. We don't control the border. The criminal cartels, the ones looking at us right now, they control this border. The strongest nation in the world no longer controls the southern border, which has resulted in historic illegal immigration, historic drug flow, historic sex trafficking of women and children. This can be stopped. We've done it before. We got to defend the border. We got to save lives.
You know, working down here in Eagle Pass, I've personally been shot at. Agents get shot at all the time, working this area.
Well, you know, I've been involved with one shooting, and I gave him some back. I was able to return fire.
You know, with that being said, the National Guard right now has directives to de-escalate. So if they receive fire from across Mexico, then they have to run behind their Humvee and take cover. And that just basically means run away. With Texans, that just doesn't track.
You can't defend the border while running away. Dallas, Texas is 110 miles north of the border. But they also suffer with illegal human trafficking on a daily basis.
We're standing right here, probably about 118 miles north of the border. We're south of Dallas, Texas, and yesterday we had a group of illegals drive straight through this fence. They came right over this, laid down the fence. This far looked like this. And these things are in there pretty hard. This is a high fence ranch. And they just ran straight through, pushed it down. And we had 6 GPS officers out here looking for him yesterday.
What happened then? They catch him? They look for him?
They didn't catch him. They went out to a road probably north of here, and they just got away. This is the 5th time the same guy has done this. It's one coyote. He basically runs illegals through. And our neighbors on this ranch have been telling us this is the 5th time he's done it, and they haven't caught him.
I had 15 El Salvadorians on my place the other day. I made one go to the road, and when he went to the road, I stopped and I noticed the brush had been pushed back here. We had been in a drought, and I came over, and there was this woman's shirt, and it was bloodstained, and right down here, and then it's faded where it's not. And there was a dead dog over here, a pit bull, who was killed. I don't know if the body's over here, but this was a staging area where I saw the truck come and pick the guy up. It was like a coyote staging area. That's the skeleton of the dog that was in the staging area that was killed. It was shot. It looked like a healthy dog, and the only people that live around here don't have pit bulls.
Can you tell me who you are and exactly what you do?
Sure. My name is Keith Rose. I am a physician. I'm a surgeon. I live in South Texas. I've spent a lot of time down in Mexico, Central and South America. In fact, my wife was born in Mexico and lived a large portion of her life down there. I worked in the intelligence community for a long time. And I spent a lot of time overseas, but I also worked in Central and South America. Currently, my wife and I have worked with a nonprofit organization where we do relief work. We embed with third country militaries, go into areas, and we'll do surgeries on children with craniofacial malformations. We'll go in and bring medication into places, and we work certain disasters like the one down in Guatemala after the volcano erupted, I believe back in 2018.
So the question I have is, how did you go from a surgeon to be in the intelligence community?
I was in the military, but I was just in the reserves in the 90s. And when I got out, I was approached by someone that worked in intelligence and said they were interested in talking to me. And over the next several months, I was brought into the community.
So at some point in time, you had one of the highest security clearances the government issues. Okay. But now we have an historic illegal immigration crisis. And right now, Border Patrol's arresting people from 161 different countries. The majority of them are Central Americans. Do you have any information why you think we're seeing such a huge population from Central America?
My wife and I were down there in 2015. We landed in Guatemala City. We were going to go work in an area of the Aztec Indians that speak Tequí. And when we went down there, we landed in Guatemala City, and the newspaper La Prensa showed on the front page, Vice President Biden at the time, the front page of the paper basically said, the borders are open for minor children, and minor children are welcome, and then families can bring them. So there was a big push to bring people. They had several articles in the paper on this, on how to form groups, how to come north. And then Joe Biden was the head guy down there doing it. And that's why he was on the front page of the paper telling everyone to come north. Then several months later, they went back and said, we now have a humanitarian crisis with all these children showing up at the border. So we need to open it up for adults. We need to have a better process down there. And they created a whole new program where they could send more money down to Guatemala to solve the crisis that President Biden started several months earlier. And one paper picked up on it in the Washington Post, and that article, I believe, was pulled. But at the end of the day, they came out and said, oh, well, we really meant only 4,000 people could come. But when we were down there, we saw it firsthand. We had the paper, we read it. Not only did they have it, but they had articles in the back of the paper with pictures showing how you form a caravan, what water to bring. Organized. I mean, everything was very much organized, and they were really pushing minors. And my wife, who's from Mexico and speaks fluent Spanish, started talking to the locals. And we talked to the people that were actually officially down there from Antigua Rescate. And what they told us was that the State Department, under the Trump administration, were renting out large venues, whether they be soccer stadiums, gymnasiums, and they were organizing caravans to come north, telling people the border was open. They had the Democrat staffers down there helping them cross, and they were preparing them for the Democrat Party. They would tell them, remember, this is the Democrats. Yeah. What did they say?
Do you remember that the Democrats were the ones helping them cross when they were here?
And what year was this?
I'd say 2018.
Did you ever get to brief President Trump on this issue?
I was asked to come into the West Wing, and I met with Steve Bannon, Seb Gorka. Told me, you need to talk to the president. I briefed him on several things that he wanted him to know. And he would grab me by the hand and he said, we're gonna go talk to him now. And we went up the back corridor of the West Wing, and we went up and we went into the waiting area in the Oval Office. And every time he would do that, someone would call President Trump away. They would get on the phone. He would just be rushed out the back.
It happened to me.
I talked to one White House intern and he said, I'm a swamp rat. And I go, what do you mean? He didn't know who I was. And he goes, well, we're here to make sure President Trump doesn't do anything wrong. We were there 3 weeks and that was happening. And finally I said, look, we're leaving because we were in the White House and we couldn't even get to him.
In 2014, Joe Biden went to Central America and said, bring me your children. And they did. We now have over 250,000 unaccompanied minors in the United States. That makes Joe Biden the largest trafficker of children in American history. Operational control over the southern border is under the control of the criminal cartels in Mexico. Under the Trump administration, we had operational control of the border. That's how we successfully got to a 40-year low illegal immigration, 83 to 90% reduction of immigration. We control the border. President Biden handed operational control of our borders to the criminal cartels by opening the border. No one celebrated this election more than criminal cartels. The criminal cartels right now are making more money than they ever have. Why? Because they're moving a record amount of drugs. They're moving a record amount of trafficking victims. They're making more money right now than they ever did. That's why you see the violence escalating in Mexico. Now the cartels are fighting each other to control plazas. Look, I started my career as a border patrol agent. I wore that uniform proudest years of my life. I was honored to put that badge on my chest. Right now, the Border Patrol morale is non-existent. They've been abandoned by the president. They've been abandoned by the Secretary of Homeland Security. These are American heroes. They put that badge on their chest, they put a Kevlar vest on, they put a gun on their hip and go to work. At 2 o'clock in the morning, there's some border lady standing on a dirt trail someplace responding to sensor traffic. He doesn't know what's coming at him or her. Is it just someone looking for a better life? Or is it a heavily armed drug smuggler? They don't know, but they're gonna stand there all by themselves and back up 30 miles away to take it on while you and I sleep. These are American heroes. The President Biden likes to say that his policies are more humane than Trump's policies. That's a stone cold lie. More migrants have died on U.S. soil under Joe Biden than any year I can remember. There's like 700 migrant deaths already. We've never seen that during the Trump administration. And over 100,000 Americans have died from drug overdoses. The DEA says, not Tom Holman, the DEA says 95% fentanyl comes across the southwest border. His policies aren't humane, they're killing. In Berks County, chasing human traffickers is a daily occurrence.
There! Got one there.
He's a freaking pro. He was hunkered down good all that time, wasn't he?
Berks County, Texas is 70 miles north of the border. It only has 4 deputies.
They can do anything they want, kill you, whatever, steal your car, and nobody will know who they are.
But they patrol 944 square miles. The largest employer in Berks County is the Border Patrol checkpoint on US 281. Cartel traffickers drop off their human cargo, and the illegal aliens attempt to hike 35 miles from the checkpoint through open, dry terrain to the next pickup. The local ranchers call this the killing fields. What difference have you seen from 2014 to now?
There's been an increase in smuggling. The tactics have gone worse.
How many dead bodies have you been involved in the last 60 days?
6 days, I picked up 2 bodies. And right now, we're going to go pick up skeletal remains from a ranch in the southern part of Berks County. A 60,000-acre ranch.
Here we are in South Texas, out here with the Border Patrol was tracking a group of aliens this morning and came across some skeletal remains. Majority of the skeletons no longer found because it's taken away by animals.
You always say a prayer, sir, when you find these bodies?
Yes. It's a miserable death.
From here, they go in the truck, JP, morgue, and medical examiners. Just a routine for Brooks. So.
Sheriff Martinez, I've been out riding with one of your deputies today, and we just recovered the remains of a person, and we're 10 miles off the road. And it took us a while to get there. How big is your county?
Well, we sit at 944 square miles, And the location you went to is on our far southwest corner of the county.
On the way out to retrieve the remains, the deputy says that he's been back to duty for 6 days and has already had 3 recoveries. They're dead remains. 3 bodies in 6 days. Is that unusual in this county?
I want to say no, because there's times we can pick up 3 to 4 bodies in one day. In June, we had 23 just last month.
And we just left your front office there with your staff. They just looked up that since Joe Biden became president in January, when this crisis really started, right? Mm-hmm. You had 187 bodies.
Correct.
You have a staff of yourself and 4 deputies?
5. I think there is an opening, probably 4, yes.
So how's a county the size of yours handle almost 200 bodies in a year and a half? I know that if you turn over an illegal alien to the Border Patrol that you find living, the government covers everything. What your deputy explained to me that when you find a dead body, the federal government gives you no funding. Is that true?
Correct. It belongs to the county. So I'm guessing that's a policy that needs to be looked at and addressed.
As I continue to speak with Sheriff Martinez, we got yet another call.
Turned out to be one male, no ID. He might be somebody, the family's looking for him, so they're gonna see if they can ID him.
These remains were a little fresher. He's been dead maybe a week to 10 days. It was tough to tell how old he was, but it was obvious he didn't die an easy death. If these deputies can pull prints off his corpse, perhaps they can bring closure to his family. It's just one small victory, but it matters. For these deputies, it's just another day in Death County.
The one you just brought in.
This is a result of those wars. More deaths. More deaths since this surge has started than I've ever seen in my career. This is not humane. Migrants are dying every day. This sheriff alone, 187 in a year and a half.
Every year, there's a significant number dying on this tract of land right here.
Have you found any dead bodies on this tract of land here?
A lot of dead bodies. Over the past 20 years, yes.
How many people have you saved since you owned this land?
Just myself, a lot. Too many to count, but our border volunteers have saved a lot also. During each operation and every operation that we've had almost 16 years back, all these years we've rescued hundreds of people that have been left behind.
You guys sound like the Border Patrol. You guys are out there saving lives.
That's right. That's right. We're out here saving lives and helping people that are left behind and helping women that have fled the group to keep from being sexually assaulted.
Have you ever heard of the term rape trees?
Yeah, we see rape trees all the time. I've got some pictures of some rape trees. One of them is within 300 yards of my front door at my house.
Doctors Without Borders did a study. They say that 31% of women that make this journey get sexually assaulted.
We get a lot of women in groups that are dressed like men for that reason. They know if they present themselves as a woman, there's a good chance they're going to be sexually assaulted and raped.
And I'm not playing politics. The data is clear. I mean, the numbers are, like you said during the last 4 years, last administration, it was pretty quiet around here, but within a month of the new administration, you saw the numbers skyrocket. It's just not a matter of politics and this administration versus that administration. The data is clear. The numbers are clear.
There's no question. I think we see the depravity of man out here. We see the suffering of humanity. We see children out here. We rescue children that have been left behind, that are scared out of their mind. Same thing with women and even males left behind. They know they're going to die. They're already in the early stages of dying. We rescue them. We get them water poured down them. We get the Borstar units out here to run IVs on them.
Painful way to die.
This is a rescue station. It's a beacon. There's a blue light on there that turns on before dark and pulsates and beats all night long. So somebody coming through here that can't keep up or is sick, they can go to this rescue beacon, push that button, and it activates in the Border Patrol checkpoint that's probably about 12 miles from where we are. Border Patrol agent will come and respond and try to help.
I know it's DHS license plate, so it's got to be funded and put out here by the Border Patrol.
Yes.
6 on this ranch alone.
I think there's 6 on this ranch alone.
So I noticed on the sign there's in English and Spanish.
That's right.
I'm sure most of the people come here speak Spanish, but I've been told by numerous people since I've been here that we had people from Mideast, from Asia.
Yeah.
How are they going to read this sign?
Well, I can show you an Urdu dictionary that we found Coyote had dropped a group of Middle Easterners in here.
Have you ever seen one of these signs in a different language?
Yeah, up until the Biden administration, this sign also had a message in Mandarin Chinese telling them to push the button if they're injured or weak or sick or can't keep up.
So why would they take that sign down? I've been told there's still Chinese coming through here.
Oh yeah, there's still Chinese coming through.
Why would they take it down then?
I don't know. I have no idea why they changed it. We still have Chinese coming through. And in fact, back before this administration took office, we had Chinese actually push that button. They were left behind and they were saved. So don't know why they changed it, but they did. Particular individual had his eyes cut out. People wanted to know what happened, what cut the eyes out. Well, his eyes were cut out by a caracara, a Mexican eagle. That's the first thing that they go for. It's something that we see, and we see frequently. The eyeballs are the first things to go. After we got through with him, we walk another 100 yards and we find this guy. He wasn't so lucky. We were a little late. We were a little late in finding him.
Still something's flashed. I mean, he's decomposing, but not totally. I see he's missing limbs. You mentioned to me earlier today that the animals will tear these people apart and take limbs away.
Yeah. We find a lot of them deceased that they're usually staring at the stars or staring at the pearly gates. They're looking straight up. It's unfortunate, but that's kind of the way we found a lot of them. This is a young person. He was trying to keep up with a group that was on a Highline trail. And he was down on the north end of it, and there's a gate there, and he tried to climb over the gate, and everybody climbed over, but he wasn't able to make it. He collapsed and died, and that's where we found him right there. He's 12 years old.
A 12-year-old who would never have a chance to live his life.
That's right. It's really depressing that they walked off and left him.
Somebody's son. Two days after we left the Vickers Ranch, this woman died 50 yards from Mike's front door. Did she leave behind a husband who loved her? Did she have kids? Either way, she'll never see her family again. And I can't stop thinking of that 12-year-old child. I've seen too many dead children in my career. If the border were secure, this young man would be alive today. This has to stop. I'm not done serving my country. I'll rest when I'm dead. These bastards will not stop me. My mission is to see that we secure this border once again, because when we defend the border, we save lives.